Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're talking about finding ratios and rates. We're also going to be including a unit rate, and I'll get to that in just a minute, because the unit rate is typically how we use and talk to each other, and when we're comparing things, is what is one unit going to be? Because then we can expand. Well, if one unit is $3, then 15 units is $45. We can just multiply and factor and do all these fun things. So uh, we have to remember that ratios and rates is all about fractions. So there are 45 males and 60 females in a subway car. Knowing we're dealing with ratios and rates, and we know that because find the ratio, this word right here, is going to tell me that I'm going to deal with a fraction, and whether I like it or not. So that's what I've got to be able to write. So I at least start by writing it. So I need a fraction bar. So it says there are 45 males and. So essentially, when I'm breaking this down, what I'm looking for is that keyword and. This is the comparison word. This is saying there's this group and there's that group. And is a very key word, and so is or. So keep those things in mind, but or comes much later. Right now, we're going to concentrate on and. And is the division sign, and so is my fraction bar. So these are the same thing. So this is the same thing as saying 45 divided by 60. Or the other way to write it as a fraction is 45 divided by 60. So when I'm finding the ratio of males, because I had 45 males, to females, I had 60 males. I have 45 and 60 females, and I'm trying to find that ratio. Now that I have a fraction, I got to look at simplifying it. So I noticed that 45 and 60 are both divisible by 5 because 45 ends in a 5, 60 ends in a 0, therefore they're both divisible by 5. So I'm going to start there. So I'm going to divide by 5 and divide by 5. Really what I'm doing is I'm taking out a common factor. That's what I mean by divide by 5. When I do that, I get 45 divided by 5. That's going to be 9. And when I take 60 divided by 5, that's going to be 12. I'm not done yet, because thinking back to my multiples, 9 and 12 are both divisible by 3. So if I divide each one by 3, what I'm going to get is 9 divided by 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. I can't simplify this any further because I have a prime number in one or the other, and that's the number 3. So this is simplified. So this is my ratio. My ratio is 3 over 4. So the ratio of males to females is 3 over 4. That's it. You could also answer by saying 3 to 4. Um, but that's an extra step, so you don't have to take it. I don't recommend it. You've already got your fraction. It is your answer. Stick with it. You don't have to rewrite it just to be able to show the same thing, just because you're more comfortable getting rid of the fraction. Just get used to those fractions. Get more comfortable with them by using them. Now, the next question is, find the speed of the subway car. Well, the speed that it's talking about, and just think about it. When you're driving down the road, you're always talking about miles per hour, okay? And here comes the unit rate idea. Unit rate is the idea that we have to be per one. Now, the subway car travels 2.5 miles in. Here's our division. Remember, when we're dealing with ratios and rates, it's always going to be division. Because it's always going to be a fraction. So I have to figure out which is my keyword or what is my keyword that's telling me there's my fraction, and on the left is my numerator, on my right is my denominator. So now that I've done that, I'll have a fraction bar in, and then I have 2.5 miles on the left, so that goes into my numerator, and I have 5 minutes down below. I want to get this to 1, okay? So how do I get the denominator to be 1? I'm going to go ahead and make that a little bit bolder. Well, anything divided by itself is equal to 1. And just like above, whenever I took 5 out of the denominator, I took it out of the numerator. When I took this 3 out of the numerator, I had to take it out of the denominator. So I'm going to do the same thing up here. If you notice, what's actually happening is I'm basically just converting this to a decimal. by taking the numerator divided by the denominator. I'm giving you a second to think about that because in reality, a unit rate takes converting your decimal your fraction to a decimal. That's it. That's the thing you always want to do anyway, right? So when we do that, we get 2.5 divided by 5, and that's going to be 0.5. So here is my ratio. The thing is, when you see the word speed, it always means give me an answer and a rate. Well, why doesn't it say that? It's one of those implied things. You just need to know that the word speed is a rate always. So we have 0.5 over 1. What I need to do is know what that is, and that's 0.5. Well, what was that 0.5 related to? When I look up here, it came from the 2.5. So this is 0.5 miles. And then down below, it's minutes. Now, in the future, you're going to get fancy because we usually don't talk about speed and minutes or seconds and things like that. We talk about it in hours, but for now, this is all we need. So what I do now is I kind of translate. I just put it into a sentence. I take the same idea where what's in my numerator is going to be on the left. So it's the first thing I write. So the speed of the subway car is 0.5 miles per minute. And I can abbreviate that because minute is singular, therefore it means 1 minute. So I don't have to write this number 1. I just have to know that it's per minute or per 1 minute. And that would be my answer. That's my speed, 0.5 miles per minute. Okay, so we got to remember a few things. We got to remember that a ratio is just numbers, a rate has labels, and a unit rate is nothing more than converting your fraction into a decimal. That's it. But whenever we do it, we don't say 0.5 miles and leave it at that. We got a rate, we have to be comparing two units, so we have to know how many miles we're going, in this case, per minute, because that's what it told us up top. If you have any questions, make sure to send them to me tonight so I can get them incorporated into tomorrow's lesson. Stay safe out there, guys, and enjoy the rest of your evening.